Welcome back to the Solid Verbal Live. College football's Week 7 well underway. A few games wrapping up, a few set to kick off, many others in the books. We are joined again by the one and only Dan Rubenstein, back from his travels down south to Texas.
Down yonder.
How was that for you?
It was really good. I had a lot of barbecue.
Yeah.
And I saw a lot of girls in cowboy boots.
It happens in Texas.
And not a ton of Texas defense, which we're going to get into.
We're going to get into that in just a little bit.
Yeah.
I smell Tyre Fire on the horizon.
Yeah, no, there are fire trucks,
We see trucks
literally outside the studio as we speak, just preparing for us to speak about the Texas run defense.
This is true. So if you'd like to tweet us, let us know what's on your mind by @SolidVerbal. Get @SolidVerbal on the Twitter, as the kids call it. We've got a whole host of things to get through, including a big win that may have just ended.
Yeah. Congratulations.
Great goal line stand by
Notre Dame winning, despite Stanford scoring a touchdown at the end.
Touchdown Tommy, 4 for 4 when it counts.
How many games must he win for you?
He's touchdown Tommy.
All right.
He's back, baby.
Well, we're going to get into that. We should
back.
slowly, or now quickly, get into the games that are happening tonight before reviewing the day's action. USC-Washington.
Yes, we have a key part. USC-Washington, this game kicks off. It's in Washington.
Yep.
All right, so we know the drill with USC. We know what they need to do. They need to punish the line, minimize weather mistakes.
We saw the snap difficulties last week against
We saw the
Utah.
snap difficulties and pick on not Desmond Trufant.
Not Desmond Trufant. Josh Shaw took reps at corner, usually plays safety for USC. And Nickel Roby is just, you can't beat him.
Very tough secondary for USC, sure.
A very tough secondary. And yeah, Washington's going to have their hands full. I mean, show those keys for Washington real quick. Now, because I don't remember what I wrote. What were the keys for Washington? I'm just going to
There they are.
Yes, all right. You got to give Keith Price time to make his longer throws to Kason Williams and Austin Seferian-Jenkins. The options on the outside beyond that, very limited. Pick on not Nickel Roby.
Right, not Nickel
As we
Roby.
mentioned, and USC had to pick on not Desmond Trufant because he is their star in the backfield. A lot of inexperience in the Washington's defensive backfield outside of Trufant. And then make USC one-dimensional. That means stopping the run. Because as we saw against Stanford, you stop USC's ability to be balanced, and you put it on, admittedly, a great pass game from Matt Barkley and those receivers. You can just, as you like to say, pin your ears back and get after the quarterback.
That's Kirk Herbstreit.
I know how much you don't like that.
I don't even know what that means.
Right. So Washington's defense, admittedly, at home has been much better than they've been on the road. In CenturyLink, it's going to be loud. How well does USC handle a hostile environment? All sorts of questions.
Yeah, and my question is whether or not Washington has what it takes to even be competitive in this game.
They do.
Yeah, you think they do. I don't know if they do. I haven't been impressed with Washington
The
so
offensive
far.
lines on both sides of the field are pretty horrendous. USC is obviously better with Khalid Holmes healthy. Yeah. He's still not going to be 100%. But yeah, those are the keys.
Sarkisian had USC's number, right? He had USC's number before.
The team that wins has the better offensive line performance in this game. I think that's as simple as it gets.
Okay.
So.
All right, we'll see what happens. We have another game to get through this evening as well. Of course, LSU and South Carolina. This is a big one because LSU lost last week against Florida. South Carolina took it to Georgia. So this is, I guess, the next logical progression in SEC country. Find out who's better between the SEC East and SEC West, at least within the context of one game. We have a special guest who's going to help us out in just a little bit. We're going to be joined by Carter Bryant from Fox Sports Radio down south in Baton Rouge. He's been on our show a number of times. We're going to find out what he thinks are the keys to this game. This is one you and I discussed.
What's huge for you?
Ad nauseum. I am not wholly convinced that I still can't get it through my head that LSU is quite as flat in offense as we've seen over the last 3 weeks.
Right.
And they have been flat. Certainly they have not played up to the standards that we thought they would before the season ever started. But I cannot get it through my head that this team is as bad as it's played over the last 3 weeks. So for me, the big question is whether or not LSU can move the ball on that South Carolina front, which now we're hearing all sorts of things about that front. Look what it did against the Georgia rushing it. They're great. I mean, they've been great so far. I want to see what LSU can do against them.
Yeah, and we do have Carter now. Is that correct, Will, in the booth?
Hey, what's up, Will?
Carter Bryant, there he is. How are you?
Hey, Ty, what's going on, my friend? Ty and Dan on the Solid Verbal. Long time no talk. Hey, I thought I was never going to have the honor of coming on with you guys again. before I came on before LSU and Oregon last season. But it's good to be back with you guys.
You were right about that game, Carter.
Right, yeah.
I will fully admit to you being 100% correct, and it still hurts.
So where are you at now, Carter?
Hey, I'm in the beautiful, majestic Tiger Stadium on a Saturday night, and it is beautiful. But I will say this, guys. South Carolina's uniforms, I don't know about you, but I love the gray Army stuff that they have going on today, the military look. I like it tonight. I don't know about you guys. It looks pretty cool. And before you know it, I was walking on the field before the game, guys, and Jadeveon Clowney almost stepped on me. And I don't like being stepped on.
And you're around to tell the story.
Yes, exactly. So I'm very good that my face didn't get ripped off during that process, which very well could happen to Zach Mettenberger tonight if he doesn't get any help from the offensive line.
Yep. Right. And, we were just talking about this because LSU's looked really flat on offense, Carter, really flat over the last 3 weeks. From our standpoint, we're trying to figure out if this is the real LSU offense this year or if they've just been out of sync for one reason or another. Which is it, and how will that unit fare against that great South Carolina front?
Well, Dan, when you have receivers that couldn't catch an STD at a Kardashian Christmas party, I mean, you're going to have troubles with the offense this season, and that's been the case. I mean, they cannot get separation in wide receiving core, and pass protection this year has been really poor. So Zach Mettenberger, we'll see what he does at home tonight against one of the best pass rushers in the country. It's not just Clowney; it's that whole defensive line for South Carolina. So, I mean, the offense has been really poor, very stagnant. No rhythm, no continuity, and that's what we've seen for the past couple of years. So you look at the receiving core, the loss of Ruben Randall, not being able to recruit and get Cordero Patterson to Baton Rouge. We see what Patterson's doing out there in Tennessee, making plays downfield, or at least a threat of making plays downfield. And it's been tough for LSU not getting any separation. Look at last game, guys, LSU versus Florida. Only 2 receivers caught passes. Odell Beckham Jr., 4 for 78 yards. Russell Shepard, 1 for 4 yards. That just won't get it done.
All right, and we talk about the offense, but the big thing that's led LSU these past couple of years when they've had all their success has been defense, has been special teams. When you look at the South Carolina offense, do you think LSU's defense and how good South Carolina's also been, especially in the return game, is LSU good enough defensively and in special teams, considering how good South Carolina is, to win this game with their own defense and special teams, even if the offense does continue to falter?
And Dan, I just don't see it. I mean, the way Connor Shaw has been playing as of late, and you guys talk about this all the time, quarterbacks that have the pocket presence, that has the ability to escape pressure, get upfield, and that's what Connor Shaw does. And we know he's not the fastest. We know not necessarily a guy that's going to bowl people over like Tebow or Newton. Right. What he does is he finds the pass rushing lanes against a 4-man rush, because every time you bring a 4-man rush, a lane is eventually going to open, especially if the rushers leave their original gap or over-penetrate. That's what Connor Shaw's done all this year. Look against Vanderbilt earlier this year. South Carolina could not get going offensively. What won that game for him? The ability for Connor Shaw to get out of the pocket and make plays with his legs. So that's going to be an X factor tonight. And also, guys, I did a study. I just joined SB Nation's And the Valley Shook recently. I did a study on Benny Logan, LSU's #1 defensive tackle, and Anthony Freak Johnson, who a lot of people have going to the NFL after next season, his true junior season. And they've had okay years. But when Marcus Lattimore and that Power O offensive line for South Carolina, if they don't step up big tonight, this could be a bludgeoning, especially through the A and B gaps with big Marcus Lattimore coming through.
All right. Again, Carter Bryant from Fox Sports Radio in Baton Rouge. Before we let you go, we've had you on the program before. You've been correct in some of your predictions. What is your prediction tonight? Again, the big one, LSU hosting South Carolina under the bright lights in Death Valley.
Well, guys, I mean, take out the bright lights. I mean, South Carolina's just a more complete football team. Wow. And I mean, you look at even the return game, that's where you really miss Tyron Matthew. Special teams, and it's just unbelievable what Ace Sanders has done. I mean, Ace Sanders is this year's Joe Adams from Arkansas last year. Unbelievable punt returns for South Carolina. And LSU's punt team, not as crisp as it was last year when you lose Tyron Matthew. So I think special teams is another advantage for South Carolina, even though the last time a game was played in Tiger Stadium, LSU scored on a fake field goal on Cole David, who's actually in the house tonight. But before I go out there under the bright lights, I got to go with South Carolina by 21-20.
21-20. All right, a good old-fashioned SEC showdown. Again, Carter Bryant, Fox Sports Radio in Baton Rouge. Louisiana. Enjoy the game tonight, Carter, and we'll check back in soon.
All right, Todd, Dan, y'all keep it easy.
All right, again, Carter Bryant, do check him out.
Yep.
Makes a lot of good points.
I've just said yep 17 times very quickly.
See, now here's the thing. I think he's going reverse jinx on us.
That's what I was thinking while he was saying that. Yeah, I got that impression.
I mean, because I've done that before. You've done that before.
Absolutely.
We've both sort of engaged in this type of psychological warfare.
Yep.
We'll see if it works.
Yep.
Yeah, I like LSU tonight. I actually like LSU.
I do as well, and I have no idea why. I think they can still win this game in special teams and on the defensive side of the ball. Connor Shaw hasn't been tested in a hostile environment.
Right.
He struggled in the beginnings of those Kentucky and Vanderbilt games, which you don't like to have a quarterback struggling against the caliber of opponent that those two teams are. But he's looked terrific these past few weeks. I think South Carolina is a better team in the long term, but at night, at LSU, I'm just going with the unmeasurables here.
Right,
I'm going 17-13 LSU.
Yeah, and South Carolina certainly has more ways it can beat you right now.
Yes, absolutely.
With what we've seen from its offense, but again, we'll have to wait and see. So, all right. There were a few other games that took place today.
Yes. Unbelievable how they keep scheduling games, yeah.
As you may or may not know.
Right.
So there are a few other night games. Well, maybe we'll get to those a little bit later. I don't know. But I do want to talk about some of these because obviously there are some with, well, let's just say with much interest here on the
I was going to say burning tire implications, but yes, that too.
Okay. So Notre Dame
Let's start with them, yeah.
Let's start with Notre Dame because the game just ended. Notre Dame wins 20-13 in overtime. Of course, the controversial play, Stephon Taylor, 4th and goal. Was he in? You thought he was in the end zone.
He was very much in the end zone.
I'm sticking to my guns saying forward progress will stop. That is the official statement. I heard a whistle somewhere.
Right.
I'm going to stick with my guns and say that was forward progress.
And we haven't followed up and seen on the Twitters anything. Right after the game ended, we started doing this show. Maybe I'm assuming they just didn't continue playing that and redo and overturn everything. Yes, it was hell of a game. It was a game that Notre Dame has lost these past few years, and they were able to pull this game out. They get the goal line stand as falsely as my eyes saw that as a goal line stand, but it's a huge win for Notre Dame to finally have Brian Kelly have a huge signature win, which I think this game, is this the best win of Brian Kelly's career?
I think it has to be. Yeah, I think it has to be. I mean, Michigan a few weeks
ago. It certainly
ago,
wasn't the bowl game when he went undefeated at Cincinnati.
It was not.
Because he didn't play. He didn't coach that team.
No,
right. So
it's water under the bridge.
Water under the bridge.
Nothing to see here.
Sure.
This is a big one. This was a big one because Notre Dame now 6-0. People start talking now. People start talking. Rightly or wrongly, people start talking. BYU next week in the ultimate, we're going to talk about this on our Wednesday show.
Right.
The ultimate letdown look-ahead spot. The letdown look-ahead sandwich, if you will.
Who do they have after?
After that, it's on the road in Norman against Oklahoma.
Right.
A game now which maybe we can predict a little more accurately given what we saw in the Texas game earlier today, which we'll get to in just a little bit. But people are going to start talking now about Notre Dame. They played well here today. The defense looks solid. Again, against a more developed passing offense, that's my concern. What happens? And they're not going to see it next week against BYU.
Right.
What happens against a team like Oklahoma, a team that can obviously throw the football?
Team that has receivers, which Stanford does not. Huge win for Notre Dame. The chatter's going to begin. How does Everett Golson, how does the defense, which, mind you, is quite experienced, respond in the spotlight? I think Notre Dame has a crappy loss in them. I do. But how many games does Tommy Rees have to win at the end for you to get over
It's getting hard. It's getting hard
to
justify the hatred.
Right.
Honestly, the hatred, whatever one it is.
Because you're an H8R. That's what you are.
That's right. It's getting difficult more and more difficult by the second to justify that train of thought because Rees has come in. He's been better in some spots than others. But today, 4 for 4, threw a game-tying touchdown. Didn't do a whole lot on the game-winning, drive in overtime, but did what he needed to do. Did what he needed to do, and people are going to start talking about it.
We've talked about 3 games in 15 minutes. Let's move on.
Okay.
We had a Tyre Fire performance, perhaps of the season, considering the context. I wouldn't say of the season because the Auburn Tigers exist.
Right.
But of the day, I would say the Texas Longhorns, especially the Texas Longhorns football players.
Yeah.
They look really bad against Oklahoma. Like extraordinarily bad.
Really bad. So bad that the Tyre Fire of the Week award actually chose to be renamed the Texas of the Week award.
Sure. Yeah. Here's where Texas is right now. First of all, how are we ever surprised when Texas embarrasses themselves against Oklahoma? We should stop being surprised.
But not like this, Dan. No. Not like this. We're not used to seeing 61-23.
We are not used to. This was a defense so thought of so highly before the season began, and now looks bad. It's a bad defense. This is Texas Tech from last year, considering the talent who knows if they're good.
Yeah, and you made the joke, I know, a few weeks ago that they're employing the bend and keep bending defense. Yep. And that's what we saw here. Oklahoma just went off. Landry Jones had all sorts of time. They finally got Landry Jones into a kind of rhythm. The kind of rhythm that I know Oklahoma fans have been waiting for all season. The kind of rhythm that people thought we might see headed into this season that might make Landry Jones a Heisman candidate.
Yep.
That's probably not going to happen.
Nope.
We're just given where we're at right now. But this was the kind of clicking on offense that Oklahoma needed. They needed to show this against a good team.
Texas, as you pointed out, slump buster of a defense.
They're
the cure for the common running game.
They are. And, we skipped ahead a little bit here, but we have a few graphics from that game
this
that I
is
think
so
are
fun. It
are
best
accurate.
exemplifies what's going on in this game. It's a gift situation. If we could roll just the fans.
Yeah,
fans are so good in this situation.
How many Texas fans do you know, Dan?
I don't know, 4?
What is the state of said Texas fans right now?
That picture right there is the state. And then there's Toby Keith, Oklahoma.
Just sort of hanging out?
Grinning like an a-hole. I love that so much.
Could use some Crest White
Go
strips, not gonna lie.
back to the Texas girl.
Right.
And here it is, F. And she
Crest White strips, I'm telling you. This guy's a rock star, whatever he does.
He looks like a fat version of what Phil Knight used to look like.
Okay, I can see that. Look at that.
Oh. I love the jazziness to her expression, though. That makes me feel better.
There was a naughty word that came out of her lips.
Right. There was a naughty word right there.
I can't say I blame her.
That's the state of Texas fandom. Here's the good news, though. In an hour, because we're, a couple hours removed from, 3 or 4 hours removed from the final of this game. In an hour, Texas fans will move right on to something else in life. They won't care. They're just going to move on to picking out their next pair of khakis.
So where does this put Texas now, Dan? Where does this put Texas? How do we feel about Texas as a team? Because you remember a few weeks ago on our show, we were trying to figure out who are the best teams, who are the elite level teams in college football this year. And you pointed out Texas, maybe an outlier. Right. I think we know better now.
Yes, we do.
But as a whole now in the Big 12, where does this put Texas relative to some of the other teams?
Puts Texas behind Kansas State, Oklahoma. Yeah. It puts them behind Texas Tech after today. Puts them behind West Virginia.
Right? It has to be
so you're saying
Virginia.
Absolutely right now, as it stands in mid-October, which is an important time of the year because it exists, Texas is at best the 5th best team in the Big 12.
Yeah.
And you could make a case that they're behind TCU. There's all sorts of cases to be made. Here's what Texas is, and it's the worst possible place. Texas is okay. They don't do anything really good other than have Quandre Diggs on their roster. That's very good of them to have. They recruit very well. They're an off-season power.
They are.
That's what Texas is right now. You're an off-season power. You convince people you're going to be good during the season. You recruit well. You get a bunch of stars next to people's names. Yeah. You're not a bad team. You're okay.
And David Ash had the injury, too.
David Ash is hurt with a left wrist.
Left wrist.
Right.
It didn't look pretty based on some of the images we saw. Of course, we're not doctors here. We don't know what happened. But you can surmise from the picture you saw that it's not good. It didn't look pleasant. And
not at all.
That's going to be another issue for Texas now. The offense hasn't really been the problem. The defense has been.
Right. I would say the offense has been the problem today when they crossed the 50 at one point 3 times and ended all 3 of those drives with turnovers. That was, and I'm sure that there are more than that too. That was just at one point in the game. Yeah. Texas, you're all right.
Yeah.
You're all right.
Defense has to get better. 677
Everything needs to get better.
Total yards allowed today.
Yeah. They're a borderline top 25 team right now.
You mentioned Texas Tech. Texas Tech goes woodshed on West Virginia. I don't know if, when we did our show earlier in the week,
here's us patting ourselves.
This is us patting ourselves right now. When we did our show earlier in the week, we both favored Texas Tech from a point spread standpoint because our mantra throughout the course of the entire year so far has been, in a shootout, take the team getting points.
Yep. Make yourself some money.
Sure. In this case, they just happen to be the home team as well, which is usually a favorable spot for college football teams.
Yep.
Also, West Virginia coming off a really big win on the road against Texas. So there was a lot of situational advantages here for Texas Tech. Never in my right mind did I think that they would hold the West Virginia offense down the way they do. We knew that the Tech defense was decent.
Yeah, they made a leap. They certainly made a leap.
And after last week, especially against Oklahoma, where Oklahoma had 41 points, I don't know to what end we really felt comfortable saying this is as good a defense as has been advertised through the first 4 weeks.
We may have made a snap reaction. Right.
Sure. This was a really good defensive effort here by Texas Tech to hold a West Virginia team down that has proven it can put up points on the board. And now all of a sudden, this throws everything out of whack based on what we saw last week. Everything up, down is up is down. All of a sudden, this makes things really interesting in the Big 12.
Yeah, it's one of the great coaching jobs. Art Kaufman, who came from North Carolina, took over the defense at Texas Tech. You could just see that there's just knowledge among Texas Tech defenders now. They're getting the push on the defensive line. They were confusing Geno Smith, who had his worst game by far this season.
Yeah.
I don't know if he actually ended up throwing any picks, but just did not understand the Tech defense, was overthrowing receivers, just could not get in a rhythm at all. Tavon Austin, Stedman Bailey, these guys just did not have a game at all. And on the other side of the ball, West Virginia had no answer at all for Seth Doege, going for around 500 yards, 6 touchdowns at one point. That was what I saw before we started the show. A terrific day, and West Virginia had stopped Texas on the ground, which just means even less now. It means even less.
It's unbelievable. Yeah.
West Virginia will have to win shootouts for the rest of the season. They will win shootouts for the rest of the season, but the story here is still going to Lubbock, Texas Tech looking as good as they did defensively. The guns were in the air.
The guns were in the air.
For the Red Raiders.
Finger pistols, sure.
It's great to see these turnarounds defensively after last season with Texas Tech as low as they were.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and Seth Doege, you mentioned, had a really big game.
Yep.
Had a really big game even by halftime. Had 300 yards, 4 touchdowns. By halftime, they go on to win 49-14. No one saw that coming.
No. Well,
I mean, we picked Texas Tech.
I took Texas Tech. I'm just going to stop patting myself on the back. We took them to cover, and then I said I'm like them outright. But yes, it was great. It's cool to see the Big 12 looking as deep as they're looking at this point.
Yeah, no doubt about it. All right, where should we go next? We got a few here. We could stay in the Big 12.
I'm drinking green tea today, by the way.
Are you?
If you're seeing me without oxidant.
Okay.
Yeah.
You looked a little flushed before, but it's starting to come back.
Good. Tell me what we got.
Stay in the Big 12. Kansas State. Kansas State goes on the road. Iowa State. So proud of Iowa State and the way it's been able to fight. And they gave Kansas State all they could handle here. Ultimately, it was Colin Klein. Colin Klein had close to 300 total yards, a few touchdowns, did what Colin Klein has been prone to doing, and basically took over the game when it counted. But it was a very slim margin, 27-21. K-State. Let me throw out a few other teams, and you tell me if K-State beats these teams.
All right. I want you to put like a card to your forehead, like your Karnak, but okay.
Okay. K-State against USC.
Line plays superior for K-State. On a neutral field, I like K-State.
Okay. K-State again. Well, I won't even say Big Ten.
Right, no.
Who are we kidding here? Who are we kidding here?
Continue.
K-State against Georgia.
K-State.
K-State against Florida.
Florida.
K-State against South Carolina.
South Carolina.
I'm seeing a trend here.
Right.
I'm seeing a trend.
I don't think they're at an elite level in the SEC competitively, but they're a top 6-7 team at this point.
No,
they're great.
They look good, and they did what they had to do again. We knew this could be a close game.
I'm going to say 4 words. Tell me if you disagree with them, any of them, all of them. Colin Klein, Heisman frontrunner. After today's Geno Smith performance.
I would disagree.
Okay.
Just from the standpoint Geno Smith.
But who is it?
Yeah, I mean, I think I would still probably give the nod to Geno, but
still to Geno Smith.
The numbers have been otherworldly thus far. So if it happens again, and it probably will happen again, he's not going to keep throwing for 8 touchdowns or whatever.
Disagree with this statement.
Yeah.
Or agree. Tommy Rees, Heisman viewer.
I would very much agree with that.
Okay, yeah, he'll watch the ceremony.
Very much agree with that, yeah. Very much agree, especially if Manti Te'o's invited, which seems to be the skull.
He should be, right?
If they keep winning, I mean, he is obviously the.
Do you know his final line for the day? I don't mean to put you on the spot, right?
Didn't see the final line, but obviously he's the leader of a very good defense.
Yes.
A very, very good defense, one that is clearly top 5 right now.
Absolutely.
I don't think there's any question about that.
So. Yeah, well, obviously when we do the show on Wednesday, I'm going to make some sort of excuse for Stanford as to why that doesn't mean anything for Notre Dame. But yes, Notre Dame is quite good.
Okay.
Next game.
Talked about a few teams in the Big 12. Let's move to the SEC. Alabama on the road against Missouri.
Yes.
Now,
give me a current score.
We'll get the current score, but tell the people what was the big story in this game outside of the score and the weather delays and whatever else was going on.
A.J. McCarron gets taken off the field. There was some ACL. Also, the big story was it's raining like crazy, and I hate disastrous weather. The big story here was A.J. McCarron, a little nicked up, but he came back.
He did.
They by Alabama, go up early in this game. Alabama's real good. Give me a current score so I don't.
42-10 final.
42-10 final. So they cover the
spread,
which I did not have. I thought Missouri would keep it closer at home with their run defense. good enough up to this point to slow down perhaps Alabama. Alabama has distanced themselves from everybody but Oregon.
Where is Alabama vulnerable? If you're splitting hairs.
If A.J. McCarron was hurt.
Yeah.
If A.J. McCarron was hurt.
What if he's not hurt? Right? It's splitting hairs with Alabama. Anytime you're trying to talk weaknesses. But is it the secondary? Because that's what we thought before the year.
I don't think so.
Is it still that?
It's hard to tell because Missouri didn't start James Franklin.
Sure.
Alabama hasn't. You look at the teams that they played. Have they played a really good quarterback? Does a really good quarterback exist this year in college football that could, Matt Barkley, perhaps with a good offensive line, I think could move the ball against Alabama.
Yeah, I could see that.
But even that offense, not all that convoluted. USC's play calling, not all that good. Alabama's vulnerable the same way any team is if they're beaten up front. It's new guys along the defensive line and that front seven.
Lost a lot on defense.
Right.
Yeah.
It's basically taking advantage of turnovers, dumb mistakes, which Alabama doesn't make. But yes, if you get Alabama into, I'm just making stuff up right now.
It's hard, right?
It's impossible to say because they're so sound everywhere on the field. They're so deep everywhere. Yes, if you're somehow able to make A.J. McCarron beat you, perhaps they are, because that way you can get them off the field quickly offensively and score yourselves. But that's about it right now to me.
Yeah, it's difficult. It is splitting hairs.
If you can stop their run, and it's a great offensive line, those are just words.
Yeah. By the way, we have sirens going on behind us. We're not really sure what's going on.
Texas defense.
Back behind us. There's a lot going on. Maybe they're here for the Tyre Fire, maybe not. There's also Comic-Con out there.
Yes.
Had to walk through a bunch of people with swords and costumes, whatever else they had on the way in here. So if you're distracted, please don't be. Keep it right here.
I'm
Solid
distracted.
Verbal. At Solid Verbal, if you want to let us know what's on your mind. We'll get to your Twitter questions a little later on. A few other games that are in progress, one I want to talk a little bit about. What do you think the score is at halftime between Vanderbilt and Florida?
I saw that it was 8-7. Is it still 8-7?
It's now 11-7.
Ooh!
So someone hit a three-run home run.
And,
And now this thing has been a little bit distanced. But interesting to me that Vanderbilt would play as tightly as it appears to be playing now against Florida. I don't think it's unforeseen because clearly James Franklin's a guy who can get his team fired up. They could have beaten Florida last year for all intents and purposes. And Florida, of course, off a really big win against LSU last week on the road in the SEC. Always.
Were you thinking letdown?
I was thinking. I mentioned the letdown look-ahead sandwich before.
That's
really what this is.
South
because
Carolina
Florida's
next
got
week.
South Carolina next week. Sure.
We don't have, if you'll notice, the keyboard in front of us. It's not. It's just green tea and beer.
Right.
So I guess we should be making our own sounds. We're forgetting to make our Tyre Fire. Right. Yeah, we're forgetting to do that, and I feel bad about that. But yes, this game has all sorts of Tyre Fire implications for Florida's offense so far, and I think we both like Vanderbilt because of the sandwich, it being on the road.
Not to win outright, but
to cover the spread.
For people who care about
the spreads seem low, right? If Florida's the number 4 team in the country and Vanderbilt is just decent, which I think is fair to say about Vanderbilt at this point. Spreads seem weird. It seemed like the right thing to do to take the points.
Yeah. And usually
thus far, it's ugly.
Usually when you see a line like that, it's either a go all in on the team that you feel might be off or just a stay away line, stay away from it altogether.
Indeed.
So usually they know something that we don't. That's how they pay their bills.
Right.
Okay, what else do we got here? We got through Florida, Vanderbilt. We got through. How about Wisconsin? Huh? We'll go back to the Big Ten a little bit. Show the Big Ten a little love. Monte Ball.
Yes.
What up, Monte? Where you been, big guy?
He's been waiting to play bad teams.
250 yards, 3 touchdowns. Monte Ball. Wisconsin could find its way to Indy.
No, Wisconsin will find their way to Indianapolis because Ohio State and Penn State and Indiana and Illinois and Purdue will all not be playing in Indianapolis. So Wisconsin will be, I think it's fair to say, Wisconsin will be in the Big Ten championship game, or also a game that you are going to gather around with your friends and say, you know, we can actually go out to dinner. We don't need to hang around to watch this. We can just go out and get a beer.
Yeah,
so
it's something else. Something else to witness what's
going on. Who are they
going to
play? Who's Wisconsin going to play in the Big Ten championship game?
I hope it's not like Iowa.
Michigan State, something Nebraska, like Iowa.
I can honestly say I'm not excited about any of those matchups.
A Michigan-Wisconsin game is just a giant turd of a watch.
It's anything in the Big Ten right now is a turd of a watch.
That's true.
And by the way, Purdue, speaking of turd of a watch. Purdue and Illinois, 2 teams that have underwhelmed immensely.
What was the final of that Michigan? Illinois game.
I can look. Last I saw it was like 45-0.
Yeah.
That could have been the final. It could have been 145.
We're going to get to a bunch of our Twitter questions on the floppy white paper.
Okay.
And a lot of them were like, hey, do you think Ron Zook wants to maybe come back?
What's Zook doing these days?
I think he's on the TV with our friend Bruce Feldman, doing some CBS college sports stuff. But Tim Beckman, Rocky.
Yeah, it's been
Rocky
a rocky
start.
And they had a lot of guys coming back too.
They're not happy at Papa Del's.
They had a lot of guys coming back. It is disappointing.
Yes.
Really disappointed to see where they've come. So, all right. Do we go Twitter questions or we go Tyre Fires?
Are there any more games that we?
There are a couple.
Duke almost beat Virginia Tech. Yay!
Florida State's all over Boston College right now. Is anyone surprised by that? Michigan did win 45-0.
Is there a score? Has USC Washington begun?
USC's up 10-0 in the first quarter.
Really?
So far.
I like Washington. I think it was 12 and a half points.
Yeah.
So
Boise State wins by 10.
I thought that was interesting. What? We're being spoken to in our ears. Yeah. I don't know why. Fresno State had shown a lot of fire early on in the season, especially on offense, and for Boise State to shut them down, certainly a step forward for the Bronx.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
What's going on with Texas A&M?
Texas A&M.
This is good.
Texas A&M doesn't start till 9 o'clock.
Yeah, let's talk about that game. Let's
Louisiana
talk about
Tech, sneaky
Texas A&M, Louisiana Tech. Not even sneaky good. They're a ranked team.
Ranked team.
You don't just go on the road and beat Virginia, people. You don't just do that. No, that's actually what you do that very easily.
That. Yeah, everyone just.
It's just a coast. Yeah, what do you think about that game? Colby Cameron leading
a lot of points.
A lot of points. A lot of Sonny Dykes offense.
Yeah, I think a lot of points in that game. Louisiana Tech has actually been really impressive.
And they have been. Their defense, it's a suspect situation.
But
Texas A&M, they've given up points. They've been vulnerable.
Yeah.
We saw the home loss to Florida, very good Florida team, but very close against Ole Miss, a team that had a chance to win that game. I like Texas A&M here. I like Manziel. I like Johnny Football.
Johnny Football's been pretty darn good, too.
In a shootout, I'm going to go with the coaching. I mean, coaches are not that experienced in these programs.
Yeah.
But I like Texas A&M here.
Was this a rainout game
It was a hurricane.
Because of the hurricane situation.
Right, hurricane. I want to say Isaac.
Okay.
I want to say Isaac.
There was a guy named Isaac here before.
There is a guy named Isaac here.
Yeah.
I like Texas A&M here, but it's going to be fun. Points on points on points.
I like Johnny Football, too. Let's take Johnny Football.
Let's go Johnny Football.
Johnny Football Union here.
Yes.
So. All right, let's get the Tyre Fire.
Let's get the Tyre Fire.
We're going to stay in the state of Texas. We're going to get through the Tyre Fire. Can we please roll the Tyre Fire graphic?
I love this so much.
Let's roll it. There it is. So whimsical. Gotta be Texas, right?
Yeah, it's Texas. I want to see Mac Brown's reaction to Texas being eligible.
Do we have the reaction? That'd be great.
Eligible. Maybe we do. Maybe we don't.
Yeah.
He's such an angry man. That's hogwash. What are you gonna do? That's baloney. That's malarkey. What are you talking about here?
If I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times. If I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times. Mac Brown would look much, much better if he just switched outfits with the referees.
Ooh.
Something with some vertical stripage.
That is true.
Slimming. Or a slimming black polo shirt.
Yeah, they actually do. The Texas, I believe they have a coach's polo that's black. And I'll say this again.
Yeah.
If you are under 30 and you were wearing a coach's polo or any sort of collar to a football game.
Now this is interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, continue.
You deserve all of the tire firing that will happen in that game. Alabama people will wear that. South Carolina, SEC. You see this from a lot of SEC fans. That's fine. You can wear it. But I'm going to be extra happy when your team loses.
It feels a little too preppy for the college football
Little
situation.
too broy, little too preppy. Act your age. That's all I'm saying.
We had a Virginia fan up in here earlier, too.
Up in arms, wearing a tie. And he said the ladies loved it. Good for him. Now he has Virginia football.
We also had the discussion as to whether or not you want to see a guy with the sort of tucked-in polo look or whatever, the shirt tie, or the big jersey.
Right. Like a 40-year-old, 47-year-old wearing an oversized jersey.
Which is worse.
Now. And Matt Ufford and I do bro versus douchebag. Sure. And I think this is that's encapsulated in that term right now. You have the bro look in the collar. Nothing. Was there anything funnier last season than the Alabama bro crying?
No.
After the LSU game?
Nothing.
See, it's that sort of deep satisfaction that I associate with college football brodom. So I'm going to say it's more okay to be the 47-year-old in the oversized jersey just because that makes me laugh.
Yeah, I can see
And laughter is fun.
I feel like if you are over the age of 35-ish, let's say 35.
Do you own a jersey? Do you own a Notre Dame jersey?
I haven't worn it.
How often do you wear it?
I've damn near burned the thing, Dan. Let's not talk about how often I've worn that jersey. That thing's staying put until I see something a little more credible on offense. But
when was the last time?
Probably during the Brady Quinn era.
Okay. Whose jersey is it?
I believe it would be Brady Quinn jersey. I'm not proud of it. It then transformed itself into a Dane Chris jersey. That's kind of, I believe that would coincide around the time it went back into the closet.
You should cut that jersey in half and sew it into another jersey. Just because I assume that's what people do with Notre Dame jerseys.
Turn it into like a situation that Brady Quinn's sister had. I could pick another team and put it on the. I don't know. I don't know where we're going with this. All right.
No, it's more acceptable, I would say.
Tyre Fire of the Week, Texas.
Tyre Fire of the Week, Texas. Absolutely. The Toreador defense. You're okay, Texas. You're okay.
Oh,
you don't do anything good. You're all right.
Congratulations. So I don't know. We're gonna keep track of this at some point. Who's winning? Who's losing? We haven't done that yet.
Yep.
We need to get a producer up in here to take care of that sort of thing. Find out who's exactly winning these things and who isn't. But all right. Twitter questions here.
I wish we had Twitter questions.
Can we pass it back and forth so that I'm not getting?
I like peppering you. I like making you feel uncomfortable.
Pepper my sauce.
All right.
Okay, go ahead.
At the fold. I'm going to give you the questions.
Okay.
I'm going to give you below the fold. Here we go.
Yes.
Question number 1. What's up, camera? Green tea.
Green tea.
All right. If the Big Ten made an all-star team, could they beat Bama?
Next question.
Could a Big Ten all-star team beat Alabama? Who's the quarterback of the Big Ten all-star team? So no.
I mean, I guess the first thought would be like Denard Robinson.
Nope.
Taylor Martinez?
Oh, God, maybe.
I guess.
Here's the answer. Here's the actual right answer.
McGloin?
It's Matty McGloin.
Matty Ice?
It's Matt McGloin. Oh, goodness. It feels good. Okay. If no, so no.
Right.
Would the Big East and Big Ten all-star teams combined with West Virginia's best defensive players beat Alabama?
With West Virginia's best defensive players?
So you're talking about a hybrid Big Ten, Big East.
Right. This is a weird
Big
fantasy
12
draft going on here
defensive play. Okay.
Could you probably the ACC's got more speed.
Could you put together a bastard football team?
Bastard football team.
And beat Alabama? An all-star team of sorts. They go through summer conditioning. They go through fall camp.
It would be difficult for Nick Saban to get any tape on those guys.
Right. It would be difficult.
That would.
And hopefully they don't play a hurry-up, no huddle. Because here's why.
Yeah.
Nick Saban's a vagina.
I don't know what that's to do with anything.
Right. No, because he just came out this week. Yeah.
I would say choice B probably has a better chance than choice A.
Choice B has a better chance.
Just because there's more players.
How is it possible that Illinois fired Ron Zook and got a coaching downgrade? I love this question so much.
It's a new system. It's a learning curve. I don't know. I don't have an answer for it.
Ron Zook here's what it is. Ron Zook is just like Texas. He's not great. He's not the worst.
Right.
It's not bad. He doesn't do anything great.
Comfortably numb in the middle.
Right.
The thing is, the Big Ten's down as a whole, too, this year.
Yes.
Really down as a whole. Really hard to watch some Big Ten football. So, yeah, the downgrade is troubling for a number of reasons.
Should Illinois ask Ron to coach again? Let's assume they mean Ron Turner.
Okay, right. Ron Turner.
The answer is yes.
Consider it. Have him on the short list.
The answer... Better couch accelerant, gasoline or moonshine?
I've never burnt moonshine before.
Right.
So I'm going to go gas just because I know
Tonight's the night.
Yeah, tonight. So we're going to do that out in here. We got the fire trucks and everything, so they're ready for it.
I'm going to say gasoline still.
Probably.
When will the country learn that defense is in fact necessary? And here's a parenthetical, LOL at West Virginia. I think most people realize it's necessary.
This isn't really a trade secret at this
West
point.
Virginia, a good defense these past few years. Under Jeff Castile running the 3-3-5, confused a lot of teams in the Big East.
Big East, yeah. Big East.
But yes, I think West Virginia probably would have struggled defensively even with Jeff Castile this year.
The secret may be out on defense.
Right.
For those at home wanting the secret may be out that you do need a defense.
Right,
in order
absolutely.
Yeah.
If you could describe today's slate of games as a food, what would it be and would you eat it?
Well, we had a few decent games today.
Right.
A few decent games today.
I would say today was deliciously evil. It was fun to watch West Virginia struggle. It was fun to watch Texas struggle. It was fun to see Virginia Tech struggle until they didn't. Fun to see Yale struggle against Lafayette. Yeah.
Michigan State, Iowa is a lot like refried beans.
Right.
Definitely nothing fun.
So what's a deliciously evil food? It'd be like adding bacon to something. It'd be like a foie gras. Here, I'll give you the exact deliciously evil food.
You know?
In Austin, almost went to a restaurant that had a burger with bacon, avocado, a fried egg, jalapenos, and foie gras.
So what are you trying to prove if you eat that?
I don't know.
What are you trying to prove if you're? I ate the burger with every. Who cares?
It's perfect for Texas fans. Okay. I don't know. That's my answer.
Angry.
We're going to move on. Which is more surprising, the halftime score at West Virginia, Texas Tech, or the number of people shocked to see? That's just all picking on West Virginia.
Yeah.
Take it from underneath the fold.
What is Auburn?
That's Auburn.
Better pizza topping, pepperoni or sausage?
This is a good question.
Point of contention here.
I'm going to say this. Sausage is better to mix with other toppings. So like your sausage, onion, pep.
Okay.
Because it's a more dynamic, three-dimensional topping. So like the crumbled up sausage, I favor the crumbled up sausage to the sausage patty.
I would agree. Yeah, I would agree with that.
So that, I feel like the texture of that mixes better with your peppers or your onions, mushrooms, those kinds of things.
But what about pineapple?
Pineapple, on the other hand, I think pepperoni standing alone is better than sausage standing alone. I think you have more coverage on the slice.
Okay.
I just like it. I just think it works better. But I would also mix the pineapple, the sweet topping, with pepperoni.
Okay. Well, people tune in.
What about you?
No, I'm not.
Next question.
I like the pepperoni. I don't like the pineapple.
Oh no, I'm talking pepperoni versus sausage.
I gotta go pepperoni.
Okay, move on.
Pepperoni. People tune in though when you talk about the standalone sausage.
I just burped.
All right. With West Virginia's defense, is Kansas State really the Big 12 frontrunner?
Yes.
I think so.
They beat Oklahoma.
Yeah.
They look better than West Virginia.
Yeah.
Kansas State, Texas Tech.
Ooh.
That game is going to mean a lot to a lot of people who are fans of teams that nobody cares about.
After watching Maryland UVA, can I go stick my head in a blender?
Yes. And before, when you said to people, I'm going to watch Maryland UVA, the better option was sticking your head in the blender.
Probably sticking the head in the blender.
Right.
Yeah. What movie best represents Iowa, Michigan State? I said refried beans in terms of a food. What movie?
So, it doesn't mean anything.
Right.
In the grand scheme of things.
I feel like a bad sequel. Because we've seen this game 100 times in the Big Ten.
Midwest people watch it a lot.
Maybe like Signs.
Yeah.
Can we go Signs?
I think Signs is a pretty good answer.
You know, sort of let...
You're never going to look back on... You're never going to sit around and talk with people about Signs in 10 years.
No.
You're never going to sit around and talk about the 2012 seasons of Michigan State and Iowa. Yeah. In the end, it was just kind of dumb.
The whole Big Ten is M. Night Shyamalan at this point, but Signs, I think you...
Next question.
Does OSU, excuse me, I'm saying Ohio State.
Sure.
Forgive me. Does OSU and WSU each have two quarterbacks
Oregon State, Washington
better
State.
than Josh Nunes?
They run different offenses, but yes, Oregon State's, especially now that we've seen Cody Vaz, that would be Vaz deference. It's a part of the male reproductive.
Yeah.
Oregon, Josh Nunes has been very good at home, and away from home, not so good. And specifically, Sean Mannion, best road quarterback in the Pac-12. Like, it's not even close. And now he's injured, and we don't know when he's going to come back.
Sure.
But for Cody Vaz to go to Provo, and I'm assuming when they're up 42-24 late, to Provo as a backup, cold, has not played meaningful snaps this season, and beat a BYU defense that's been amazing. I'm going to say, I don't know about two quarterbacks on Wazoo that are better. I don't know if I don't think Connor Halliday and Jeff Toole would be all that much better in Stanford's system.
I was going to say probably not on first.
Without a doubt, right now, as we've seen them on the road against good defense, still Notre Dame's better than BYU. Vaz deference makes me say yes, at least for Oregon State.
Okay.
Vaz deference.
Has a weather delay ever helped the team leading?
No.
No further comment.
No, I have no further comment. I mean, who cares? It's weather.
We got one here about Optimus Klein and the Heisman front runner.
I stole that, yeah.
Sort of talked about that. We will close out with this one. What do you think Mac Brown is getting Bob Stoops for Father's Day this year?
Oh!
He just went there.
Mac Brown, first of all, not fair for there to be so much crimson and cream on his burnt orange shirt. So maybe he's going to send him a dry cleaning bill.
Yeah.
Because that's not okay. I don't know. I'm not going to try to answer this question seriously because it's brilliant and funny on its own.
Yeah, no.
But Mac Brown now, I believe, a losing record against, or not just now, I think it's like 5-9 or something against Oklahoma. Here's a prediction. Next year, Oklahoma's going to beat Texas. I'm probably going to be right.
By the way, the gift has been the Red River Shootout the last couple times, right?
Right.
Yeah, this has been the gift.
It's a beautiful thing. You split the crowd down the middle, and you give the score to Oklahoma.
All right, this guy over here is Dan Rubenstein. My name is Ty Hildebrand. Our name is The Solid Verbal. You can find the Twitter handle back there behind us next week. A bit of the lineup change.
Yeah, we're changing things up. Yeah, we're going to be doing this on Sundays from now on. Sundays at noon Eastern, 11 Central, 10 Mountain, 9 Pacific.
6 Hawaiian.
6 a.m. Hawaiian. Get up, our friends on the islands. That will be starting after the Hawaii game ends. Is my time right? I don't know.
It's just a college football time warp.
Right. It just continues on. We're doing this so we can actually know everything about all of the games, and so be better prepared to make you laugh about things like the Michigan State-Iowa game is the signs of the college football day. So we're going to be doing it on Sundays from now on, so we're not competing with games at night. We're not competing with Twitter and all the sorts of stories happening everywhere, so we're going to be doing it Sunday. It's going to be the best college football rap show in the world.
Yes.
And we should also be eating wraps.
We should.
Because it is a rap show.
That would be very fitting.
What would you have on your ideal wrap?
I'm pretty boring.
What would you put on your ideal, let's say like a pita wrap?
I'm usually just like turkey and cheddar.
Turkey and cheddar, that's all, you have your choice of all of the ingredients in the world.
I like lettuce and raw tomatoes.
Oh, see, that's just...
But
sauce, mayo, mustard, barbecue, nothing.
Maybe a little mayo or mustard, but
See, I'm going to go...
I'm boring. I'm
going to go...
I'm a traditional host. I'm a boring person.
A good spice roasted turkey. I'm going to go maybe some sort of salami.
Oven roasted?
An oven roasted,
okay, oven.
Maybe a mixed green, some onions, mustard, mayo, maybe some... There's an Armenian place in LA that puts string cheese in a wrap. It's divine.
I could go for some string cheese, yeah.
I think that would be about it. It's real good.
We're talking about wraps on our college football show.
Yes.
We will be in your living room, in your den, wherever, next Sunday to
keep asking us food questions.
To help
I think we like that way more than the college football ones.
We're better at it.
Yeah.
We're going to wrap up the college football week 8 next week on Sundays, live simulcast of what we already do on Sundays. So it should be a good time. You can watch live. You can interact live. We're going to do our best to include everyone.
I'm going to say this. Before the season's over on that Sunday show, as an onus, as incentive to tune into that Sunday show, nudity. Not ours. Not saying who. There will be nudity.
On that note, for this guy over here, the one talking nudity, Dan Rubenstein.
Yes.
For myself, Ty Hildebrand. We are the Solid Verbal. Thanks for tuning in. Enjoy the rest of your evening. In the meantime, stay solid.
Peace.